Hi there. It's the next morning, 11 hours later, and I have here my levain, which is here. You can see bubbles around the edges, and it's grown considerably. And this is the starter dough, which is very bubbly on top. It has a lovely mild...
oh, honey, you got to know. I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right, now the real test that this is ready is called the float test. And it's simple. I just take a piece of this. I have a cup of water, and I put it in, and it floats to the top. And I'll take it out because I want to use that. The starter dough will be the same. Now I'm going to set aside the starter dough for now because what we're going to make is the bread. This is the beginning of a bread. I have a Cambro 12 quart, which is my favorite thing to use to make my bread in. You can buy it on Amazon. And, pardon me. So the first thing I do is measure out the water. I already have it at the right temperature. I gotta make sure I get the right amount. And the water is at 80 degrees, 78 to 80. I never quite get it right, exactly right. Let's see if I can. Okay, 740. To the water, I add the levain. It's quite thick, as the starter was last night when I made it. And the levain needs to get stirred in, just as I did with the starter yesterday. So this is it takes a little bit to get it completely stirred. At this point, we don't add salt. It will be just the levain, the water, and the flour. So I've already measured out the flour. All right, now the flour goes in, and this is whole wheat and white, as it turns out. Now I'm gonna move over to the sink where I have a little more leverage. I'll bring the camera with me. Maybe over there, okay. So this is, you're encouraged to do this by hand. Every book says that you mix by hand, and I tried it, and I frankly don't like this stage by hand. It's very gooey, it's sticky, and it's just not something I particularly like. But I would encourage you to do it once and try it, and maybe it will satisfy you. I would caution that you take off any rings because this dough is very, very sticky. Now, having gotten it that far, I use the scraper tool to finish the mixing. And the point here will be to get the flour all mixed in. And it's more of a folding or a kneading action than a stirring action at this point. And this is the process of mixing bread. It's folding it over until it's fully blended. This is my coffee maker. At this point, the dough looks very, choppy, not smooth. But I do want to get all the flour involved. This is basically hydrating flour and mixing it with the starter, the levain, so that it can now begin to ferment. And some recipes have you put the salt in at the beginning. This particular recipe discourages that because salt actually slows down the fermenting. And so this gives the ferment a good start. Now you can sort of see this is sticky stuff. All right, that is my loaf, my 2 loaves of bread in their most nascent view. And I'm gonna now put the lid on. I'll move it back over here. This Cambro has a lid, so rather than having to use saran wrap or any other kind of closure, this is an airtight closure, and this will sit on the counter for 30 minutes. So I now have, it's been 30 minutes since I mixed the dough. If you look at it, it's very kind of lumpy and ugly, quite frankly. What we're going to do now is add salt and water. So I shake the salt on top. You can at this point mix, of course, because it's not a mixable dough. That was a little bit of salt, and then a little bit of water is going to go on top of it. And this is going to make it very manageable as a dough. Okay, so that's been put on, and I'm going to move over here. Al's going to follow me. And at this point, it's still a bit sticky. So I'm going to use this dough scraper to get to the bottom of it and get it up. And as I do this, you'll see that it takes on a shiny and smooth look to it. And I can now begin to handle it. So this dough is a beautiful, soft, very pliable. And in order to mix the salt in, it's sort of a squeeze action, squeezing and folding. And it's just a beautiful, supple piece of dough. At this point, I'm going to now sort of put it down. I'm going to put the lid back on, and then in a half an hour, the folding begins, and I'll demonstrate a fold. So this bread has now undergone a number of transformations. I've added to it cheddar cheese and jalapenos. That's a flavoring. And I have folded it 3 times every half hour. And this is the 4th fold. So in folding it, if you come closer to see it, it has now grown a bit. And a fold is always the same. I'm going to do 4 folds. That's why this particular Cambro is so nice, because it gives me lots of room. So best if I have a wet hand. And it's very easy. It's sticky, but it's very manageable. So I fold it over one way, turn it 90 degrees. I go to get to the bottom, fold it all the way over. That's 2. And then I'm going to do the 3rd. As I do these, it gets a little bit more resistant as the glutens get stronger. This helps to build the gluten in the bread, which is what holds the bread up. And this is the 4th. I usually have to let gravity help me out to get it all the way over. And over time, the jalapenos and cheeses have just gotten folded into the bread, so they're well mixed in. Now, I've finished the folds, and it goes for 2 more hours to raise at room temperature. Well, room temperature in the summertime. And that's it.